Bidding wars are back in Florida. And that is wild to say, especially where I am right now. I'm in Wellen Park, which, like, this area of Southwest Florida, like Port Charlotte, Englewood, Northport, Wellen Park, Sarasota, Venice, we've seen some pretty big decreases in home demand and prices over the last couple years. And I've been saying this in a lot of the videos lately, but it felt like things were changing. And I can say at this point, I've got some data to share with you that maybe paint the picture that we might be on a flattening or upswing again. I don't know. I'm not going to make any like bold claims on which way it is, but I'll tell you what, I don't think things are going to continue to keep going down unless we have like some sort of an actual like, you know, economy and stock market crash that affects real estate. But let me just start off with this. I've done previous videos on the channel talking about how, okay, we're starting to see, you know, a little more like clients that we've been working with looking at a home, and then we'll work with a different client and they'll also look at that same home and then maybe another one of the same homes. And we've just been busy as a whole to begin with. Had a few situations where maybe two of our own clients wanted to put offers on that same home, or they did and some other client working with a different realtor. But you should work with us, honestly, because we got your best interest in mind. And we're always going to try to make sure you get answers to questions that are impossible to find online and get you the best deal. Get a hold of us, 941-221-1897. We'd love to help you out. But point is, we've seen this happen, you know, this was like months ago, like early summer, late spring. And now we've started to run into some situations where it's actually like multiple offers coming in. Now, there's some nuance with this and some things to understand before, you know, you go thinking like, oh my gosh, things are going to get crazy in Florida again. I don't know that that's necessarily the case because it's not every single home where this is happening. So where that is mainly happening is the homes that are priced well, or maybe they weren't priced so well, but they're quick to get a price cut when it's not, you know, so it's on the market, they wait a week or two and they drop that price. And again, like if you're looking to sell a home, get a hold of us so we can make sure you can kind of get in more of a situation like this, because I just see so many homes that just sit on the market and sit on the market. And then we take clients to see them and it's like, it's been on the market 100 days and they're like, what's wrong with that place? Like, they just didn't price it well. That's probably all it was. I mean, there's definitely situations where there's more to it than that, but a lot of times it's just that simple. So the pricing in the days on market is huge. Those are the ones where we're seeing a little bit more like the bidding wars happening. But outside of that, it's typically more of a situation where like if it's priced too high, that's what's gonna sit. If it's priced well, it's gonna sell pretty quick. If it's been on the market a long time, usually because it wasn't priced well, higher chance it's not gonna sell, even if they do drop the price in. And if they don't, like, good luck, it's gonna take a while. You know, maybe once the market starts picking back up. But, you know, if you really need to get that place sold, that's what you want to keep in mind. If you're looking to buy, that's also what you want to keep in mind. Like, you could be entering a situation where there's bidding wars again, if it is priced well. That's the biggest thing I got to make sure is clear here. I'm not saying this is happening across the board, but it seems like, you know, a lot more sellers are starting to have an understanding and come to terms with the market. And the people that know that they can't get what they want to get, they're just not listing, you know, or need to get, I should say. Because, you know, some people are kind of caught in a pickle where they're like, I really need to sell it, or don't need, but really want. But I know I can't afford to move into another place that fits my needs. So I'm just not even going to bother right now. But there's some other things to consider with this that I've been talking about on the channel for a little while. Insurance prices. In fact, I'm going to film a video in a little bit after I'm done with this one, talking about how insurance prices in auto and homes has come down. And that, I think, is also affecting people's perception now of, oh, okay, maybe I can afford it. Maybe things are going to get a little better. And those factors, I think, are also helping, you know, with keeping as many places from coming on the market, which ties into some of this data we're going to get into right now. And real quick, before we do that, look at these friends of ours here. Pretty cool. Okay, as always, I got to call them out, but you get these doom and gloom channels that always want to talk about real estate crash, even though prices were going up. Like, some of these people were saying there was going to be a big crash in 2019 and things went crazy, and they'll cherry pick their data. I like to give you the data that I feel like is much more balanced and looks at supply, looks at demand, looks at median sale price and what's actually happening on the ground level. Some of these other channels, they'll just look at, oh, they'll find the one house with a huge price cut or that sat on the market forever, and they'll put all their focus on that because it fits what they're trying to sell, which is to get you to keep watching their videos so they can make money on you from ad revenue. That's not what we're here to do. So all this data is gonna be focused on where I live, and we live in Venice. And basically, this metro that I'm gonna give you most of the data from is from Sarasota, actually Bradenton, down to Englewood. And that's considered the Northport Metro. I don't know why it's like considered a metro because a lot of the areas feel very separated, but the point is, it's called the Northport Metro. And some of the cities that are considered to be part of it, I don't know, it's a weird hodgepodge, but it's a pretty big area. But it's also one of the areas where we've seen things go the hottest and then now the coldest. So I think it's a really good area to look at. Just had a guy that watches the channel. He didn't want to be on camera, but he said he watches the channel. He moved on because of us. I love hearing that. But definitely get a hold of us if you want to move on. We want to help you out. Okay, so let's get into this data. So for the Northport Metro, which includes all those areas I covered, wow, this is crazy over here. I don't know what this is going to be. I'm walking through downtown Wellen Park area, and like every stretch around this lake is being developed, which kind of shows you like this area is here to stay. They're continuing to push forward. So things aren't as cold as some doom and gloom people would have you think. But $485,000 was the median sale price. And this is like peak. So again, this is like what the doom and gloom realtors are doing. It was $485 at the very top in October of 2022. But that median sale price, like that line will squiggle up and down from month to month. And so instead of kind of looking at more of like the midpoint of where that's at, you know, they'll always take the very top. More realistically, it was probably closer to like, if you took like the median of multiple months and average that out a little more, you'd be looking at more around like, 475, maybe 480. And now we are down to $410,000 for the median sale price. So a pretty big drop, you know, and I'm not going to say we haven't seen that drop, but here's the thing to consider with that. A lot of people were not moving to Florida for a while because home prices went up so much, number one, and then interest went up, number two. Well, guess what? Home prices have dropped. For some people, it's like, okay, it's a little more doable now. And we're looking at almost definitely now some more consistent, you know, rate cuts happening over the next year. So I think those two things have started to bring some people out of the woodwork. Okay, let's talk some more important numbers. Average sale to list ratio. This is a big one because this tells you like what a place is listed for, like what on average is it selling, like what percent of the list price is it going to actually sell for. And so right now we're at 96.7%. That has very steadily been going down. I'd say somewhat slow, but steadily over the last 2 years. There was a more abrupt change a little before that 2-year mark. And so, yeah, we've definitely seen some more room for negotiation. And what's interesting about the average sale to list ratio being at 95.8% is, you know, people would say, oh my gosh, it's really, really down. Like if you looked at it like in 2021, like it was well above 100%. But historically, over like, I'd say the last, let's see, since like about 2015, maybe even like you could argue 2013, it's kind of hovered around that all the way through like till 2021. You know, 2020, when the COVID boom happened and things started going crazy. So realistically, that's a pretty, you know, standard sort of average sale to list ratio. So while some people would say, oh my gosh, look how much it's come down since, you know, 3 years ago. Well, yeah, that was an extraordinary circumstance. And right now we're hovering around what it's normally at. Real quick, I got to show you. This is so cute. Look at this little guy. Little baby turtle. Oh, he put his head in. I know, I don't mean to scare you. Okay, had to show you that. All right, keep on trucking, little guy. But that's often a lagging indicator of like what's actually happening on the ground level. And I think one of the best indicators, again, that looks at supply and demand is months of supply. And basically what this number says is if no more homes came on the market, based on how fast they're selling right now, how long would it take all the current inventory to sell? How many months? And so I like to look at this because again, it looks at supply and demand. A lot of these doom and gloom realtors will only look at like inventory, because if that inventory is, you know, sky high, let's say there's like 100,000 homes on the market, and they'll be like, look it's a historic high. But if you also have a historic high or higher amount of people looking to buy and actually buying homes, then all that inventory number doesn't really mean a whole lot. You see what I'm saying? So you have to take both sides of the equation into consideration. And that's why I like to look at months of supply. So in Venice, 4.9 months of supply. So just to give you a sense for this, usually the saying is like 3 to 6 months is a balanced market, not necessarily favoring buyers or sellers. I would argue when you're around 3 months, 3.5 months or down, it's definitely a little bit more of a seller's market. As you get about, I'd say about 5, maybe 6 months, it's a little bit more of a buyer's market. So right now in Venice, 4.9 months, we're pretty close to, that 5 months. And I would say leaning towards more of being a buyer's market. But here's what's crazy. Just back in January, months of supply was 11.5. And we have had quite a roller coaster on that. But the thing I want to point out with this and all like the Metro's numbers as well, I took a look at that. Got a little tornado going through here or something. So continuing on, and then I got some interesting things to share with you about like the trends with this months of supply, because it's different than most years. And it's almost the same every year like clockwork. But months of supply in Northport, 4.8 months of supply. Just a little while ago, again, a couple months ago, I was doing some videos telling you how like the months of supply there was dipping lower and we were seeing more competition and things like that. And I want to say it was like around like 3.5 months of supply. Right now it's at 4.8. So again, veering closer to being a little bit more of a buyer's market. But I would say things are starting to, it seems like leveling out. That's what a lot of the data that I'm looking at is showing. Englewood, Florida. Again, this was like really low for a little while in the summer, but now we're back up to 6 months of supply. So that's looking a little bit more towards being a buyer's market. Again though, like with the price points being where they're at and things like that, and interest starting to come down, I think maybe this winter we're going to see things remain somewhat competitive because we're right around the corner right now, right? As I'm filming this, we're in the end of October. So continuing on with months of supply. Some interesting things to consider. Back in 2013, the months of supply was 4.2. In January, much, much higher. 7.4, January of this year that is. 7.4 months of supply, which again, if you were to watch like a doom and gloom channel, they'd be like, oh my gosh, that's insane, blah, blah, blah. It's, everything's gonna crash. And don't get me wrong, prices have come down, but it hasn't been the catastrophic crash like they've been talking about. And again, I feel like it looks like things, and the data is starting to show that things are leveling out with some of the things I've showed you already, but wait till we get to some bigger macro factors. But that 7.4 months of supply is actually not like historically high or anything like that. And again, data tends to even out as you talk bigger areas, more homes included, right? Like if you just do like a small neighborhood, that can go way up and way down from month to month. But a bigger area with more homes, more buyers, more sellers tends to be a little bit more smooth and stable with the changes. 7.4 months is pretty high, but it was higher in 2019. So it's not unprecedented to be at that height. And we all know what happened after 2019. Prices ended up going up again. Some very extraordinary circumstances. But the point is, it's not necessarily like if it's above 6, like, oh, everything's gonna come crashing down. That's just not necessarily the case. But right now we're actually sitting at 4.8 months of supply. So things have come down. Buyers have eaten up some of that inventory. And so there's a little bit less homes on the market again, showing you how things have got a little bit more competitive. And just to show you the craziness on the flip side of that, 0.6 months of supply, less than a month, almost just a little over a half a month's worth of supply in March of 2021. I mean, that is wild to think about, but I think it kind of shows you how that, the current rate we're at, that 4.8 months of supply is not all that, high. It's not all that low when you look at it being at 7.4 in January and being at 0.6 in March of 2021. Now, I think this is one of the best things to look at as far as to get an understanding of like what's happening on the ground level. And, when you look at homes, like what can you expect to pay for them, right? We did the median sale price, so that gives you an idea of that. But like, is there quote unquote deals to be had? Well, the average sale to list ratio is a great number to look at for that. And right now we are sitting at 95.8%. So you might say, okay, like how does that stack up? Well, it was well over 100% back in March of 2021 and going forward for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And so that was like extraordinary circumstances. And it's come way down from that at 95.8%. Just coming down a percent or two is pretty significant actually. And so being at 95.8% means basically whatever a place is listed at, 95.8% of it is, on average what you can expect to pay for it. Again, how the place is, well, its price, the condition of it, location, maybe or new things like this coming in the area with new developments that are gonna appreciate it. All those things are gonna be factors. But again, if you're looking to buy or sell, get a hold of our team and we can help you navigate that process and get a better understanding of, what a good price is for an area. But 95.8%, and you might say, oh my gosh, that's really come down. Because like I said, 1% or 2% is pretty big. And you might think, oh, is it gonna continue to go down? Because I mean, I'd say since like 2023, it's sort of like gradually but steadily been decreasing. But it seems like it's kind of starting to like zigzag up and down a little bit, but overall be kind of flat. And just to give you some perspective, if you think like, oh my gosh, that's like crazy, places have come down so much and they're gonna keep coming down, and these bidding wars you're talking about, that's not a real thing, and blah, 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 because there's a lot of people that like to get pushback on this stuff. I wanna make sure everything's very, very clear. We generally have sat around that 95% mark since like around like mid 2013, all the way through basically till the COVID boom happened in 2020. So you're talking like a 7-year run of being around 95% average sale to list ratio. So we're kind of settling into sort of that standard balanced market, I would say. And I think you can really see that in the months of supply, in the average sale to list ratio, and we'll see how things shake up, but probably, it's more of a lagging indicator usually. That takes a little while for people to kind of understand where the market's at, both on the buyer and seller side before things even out. But I think we're going to start seeing that in the median sales price. Now, the wild card is, of course, what's going to happen with the stock market, jobs, the economy as a whole. That could be something that changes everything dramatically. But as things stand right now, I think we're going to be looking at one of two scenarios. And I guess I'll give a possible third. I think the third is the least likely, so let's start with that one. And that's for prices to like drop gradually or even maybe somewhat significantly. I just don't think that's going to happen again unless there's some like big shakeups with the economy. And again, that could very likely happen. I'm just saying, like, if things maintain everything kind of about the same the way it is, but that's never the way things work out. But if it were to, the way the current market conditions are in Southwest Florida especially, but Florida as a whole, I don't, and again, there's pockets and changes of this. Like, you talk condos in Miami, different story, you know what I mean? But like as a whole, most of Florida and like Southwest Florida, the way the data is looking, what we're seeing on the ground level, all that, I think median sale price continuing to go down, especially like dramatically, is just not likely unless there's some bigger economic factors at play. Even gradual, I could maybe see gradual price declines for the median sale price as a whole. But I think what we're more likely going to see is one of these two options, which is one, things just kind of stay flat for a while. And the way the market data is looking, I think that's a real possibility. Oh, one more thing I need to share with you on that side of things too, that I'll get to in a second, that I think really shows how this year is different according to the data. It just doesn't feel different to me. I think it actually is different. But then the third scenario, and again, I think this one's a little less likely, but possible. I don't think we're gonna see things just shoot up like crazy, but I think we might be in territory where pretty soon, especially with the possibility of interest rates continuing to drop, and it seems pretty likely at this point, that maybe we're gonna see some slight appreciation and median sale price go up a little bit. Now, I don't think we're gonna see like COVID boom. That's not what I'm saying here at all. But I think it is a possibility. Okay, so now here is the most compelling data that I have that says this year is different and why I think prices might start to go up. And it comes back to the months of supply. With the exception of like those 2.5, 3-ish years of like the COVID boom with prices going crazy, every year, like clockwork, you can go back and look at the data every single year in May. That's the lowest months of supply that we see. And then it goes up, 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 all the way until January. And every year, like clockwork, it peaks in January. And then it goes down, 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 down. It's a cycle that happens every single year. That's not what happened this year. Crazy. And I'm talking about data going back to 2013. Okay, so we're talking about quite a bit of time to kind of look at these cycles and see, okay, there is a pattern here. This year May came, and that's supposed to be the bottom. June, months of supply went lower. July, lower. August, September. October is where we're up to right now with the data. I'm filming this in late October, and it's still going down. Meaning less houses are on the market, maybe less being, listed, a little bit of more people buying. I think it's a little bit of both, but all that matters is that supply-demand dynamic is starting to shift towards sellers. I'm not saying it's a seller's market right now, because again, we're at like I forget the number now, it's like 4.8 months of supply for the metro as a whole. But the fact that we are now in that territory where things are continuing to go down for multiple months, when every year like clockwork in May was the bottom, that means this year is different. And so it'll be really interesting to see how things shape up and play out this winter, because that's usually when all the snowbirds come down, all the people on vacation, spring break, all the people that come down here, and that tends to lead to more inventory coming on the market, but it also means a lot more people looking to buy. And so, how many more people will decide to list, or maybe less, because things are getting a little more affordable with some of the insurance prices starting to come down. And, with median sale prices coming down, property taxes are going to be a little bit lower. So things are starting to, and also interest rates, like all the big things are starting to look a little bit better for Florida. So, maybe some of the people that are looking to sell maybe change their mind. And some of the people who are sitting on the sidelines waiting to buy, now the conditions are just right enough for them to look at it. So this winter is going to be really interesting, because again, with that months of supply dynamic being different this year than pretty much every other year, taking out those COVID boom years, this winter I would have to imagine would also be quite a bit different. And I don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but I'll tell you what, it does kind of show the case that I'm trying to make, that, things are either going to flatten out or we might see some appreciation. Could things go down? Sure. It's possible. I just don't think, with the way things are shaping up right now and the way things are looking, that that's very likely. Which means if you are looking to buy, now would probably be a good time to consider it. Just because, again, we don't know what's going to happen with the economy. So maybe if something crazy happens with the economy, okay, yeah, things could maybe crash or whatever the case may be. There's just so many different factors that would go into that, and things could affect it. And maybe we don't even with that see any changes. But as things are right now, it's looking like things are going to even out or maybe go up. I honestly thought maybe the bottom would be a little bit lower, but just that's not the way the data seems to be showing things right now, and what we've been seeing on the ground level. So, don't take this as me like trying to push you into, oh, you got to buy now, because you got to buy when it's right for you. I'm not trying to say that. But if you have been looking to buy and you're kind of trying to time the market as best you can, based on what I've seen, I don't see there being any more dramatic dropping in prices in this area. Especially you also got to put into consideration, I'm in Wellen Park right now. You can see as I've been walking, all the development and all the new things coming in, and this is just the trails, the downtown way over there. There's so much more coming in over there. But all that together, and then Lakewood Ranch and how Bradenton's got developed, there's more amenities, there's more things in these areas. So the bottom might not be as low as a lot of people thought, because they're judging it based on what it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, even 5 years ago. It's just a much different place. But yeah, I think we're going to see places level off and start to go up in median sale price. So if you are looking to buy or sell a home in the area, get a hold of our team, 941-221-1897. We can help you avoid mistakes, can answer those questions that are often impossible to find online, and save you as much money as possible. And as always, our biggest goal is to make sure you are happy. That's number one. You can call or text us at any time at 941-221-1897. We love hearing from all you guys, and we've helped so many people in like I said, the last 3-4 years, honestly, but especially this last 5-6 months has been insane. And if you want to know more about moving to Florida, we cover just about anything you could think of, anything from alligators to bugs to real estate to different locations and a whole bunch more. We got a whole playlist with a whole bunch of videos right here that you can check out. If you found this video helpful, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on all notifications to catch the newest videos, and we'll see you in one of those videos next. Live breezy.